Well, hello and happy Mother's Day to you all. My name is Lori Wilhite. I have the true joy of getting to be married to Judd, and he is awesome. He makes me laugh at home just as much as he makes you laugh here. It's like living with a comedian all the time. But it's so awesome to get to be here with you this weekend. At my house, we love princess movies. Well, at least two of us. Two of us love princess movies. We love the old classics. We love Cinderella and Snow White. We love the newer stuff like Ariel and Belle, and we even love the Frozen gals because we can't let them go. We just have to keep on watching that movie 9 million times, right? We've always loved princess movies, and when my daughter was tiny, I think she wore a princess dress most days for about 2 to 3 years. Over regular clothes. She lived in a princess dress. So you can imagine how excited she was when she had a baby brother just days before Halloween. So my 2-week-old son and my 2-year-old daughter on their first Halloween together dressed up as Beauty and the Beast. I brought you a photo so you can see. Now you may look at that picture and say, Lori, that is a lion and a bride. Yes, you're right. But she was 2, and she didn't know any better, so she believed what I told her. So we did Beauty and the Beast, and it was awesome. We loved it. But here's the funny thing about brothers. When you have a brother, your pretty princess world starts to get invaded. First by Star Wars action figures, and then by all things superhero. So when you fast forward 2 years to 4-year-old Emma, this is what she looked like in her princess dress. Yeah, a little princess, little Spider-Man, little Thomas the Train hat. But we loved the princess movies, and Beauty and the Beast was one of our very favorites. We would put it on the television, we would dance around our house, she would sing all the songs and twirl in her dresses. We loved Beauty and the Beast because it's a great story of this selfish, horrible prince who gets cursed to live as a beast until he can learn to love and be loved in return. Enter the beautiful, selfless Belle, who is amazing. She is so selfless that she gives up her freedom in order to save her father. And then as the movie goes on, heart starts to soften, they start to grow closer together, and then he is willing to give up his hope for a future, the opportunity to have his curse broken, and he gives Belle her freedom so that she can go and help her father. But do not worry, because true love triumphs in the end, and they get back together, and love conquers all the curses broken, and they learn to put each other first. It's a great movie. It's a great movie about how to learn to love selflessly. So if we're going to learn to love selflessly, there's a few things that we need to do. The first is we've got to relinquish our thrones. We've got to relinquish our thrones. A really good friend of mine and pastor's wife, Kay Warren, says this: inside each one of us is a kingdom where we sit on the throne. I call it the kingdom of me. The world is primarily messed up because it is full of people all operating from the kingdom of me, all looking out for their own interests and not the interests of others. Can I be honest with you for a second? I love being in charge of the kingdom of me. I'm an excellent queen in the kingdom of me. I'm awesome at it. I enjoy the throne that I sit on in the kingdom of me. I have rules in the kingdom of me. Dare I say laws? Rules in the kingdom of me. In the kingdom of me, we don't do the outdoors. We just don't do them. In the kingdom of me, adventures are to be enjoyed sitting in a movie theater with a tub of popcorn. In the kingdom of me, you should do vacations in sun-soaked cities, walking around art museums and visiting historical sites and just relaxing. In the kingdom of me, it is heels over hiking boots every day of the week. And in the kingdom of me, ice and snow and cold should be avoided at all costs. So, cue the invasion of the kingdom of me in the form of a very cute invader, my 16-year-old daughter, Emma, who comes home from school one day with a packet that says she has the opportunity to go sing with her choir at Harpa Hall in Reykjavik, Iceland. Iceland. So 10 months later, we filled our suitcases with gloves, fur-trimmed coats, and hiking boots, and we flew to the land of fire and ice, which I gotta be honest with you, is a whole lot of ice, not much fire. A lot of ice. And we went on this crazy outdoor adventure. We went glacier hiking. Here we are, glacier hiking. Now let me tell you, I have no business glacier hiking, none. I should not be glacier hiking. I'm gonna tell you why. I have reasons for the rules in the kingdom of me. This foot, I fractured trying to pretend 2 years ago as an adult like I was a prima ballerina. It was not funny. This foot, this ankle, I fractured falling down a hill on a mission trip in Mexico. I fractured this kneecap snow skiing. I fractured this arm falling off of this stage last year. I tore my rotator cuff running. Judd would tell you walking. He is a liar. I was totally running, really fast running. And I gave myself severe whiplash trying to do backflips on a trampoline. So I do not need to be glacier hiking. That is a terrible idea for me. I should not do that. So why would the queen of the kingdom of me allow the laws of the land to be so thoroughly violated? Well, that is because I love that little girl more than I dislike the outdoors. And I love her more than I hate hiking boots. And I love her more than I loathe the ice and the snow and the cold. So I laced up my hiking boots and we put on spiked shoes and the most unflattering helmets ever. We picked up ice axes, yes, an ice axe, and we started climbing on a glacier in 19-degree weather. And it was awesome. And the truth is, if I had decided to stay on the kingdom of me, I wanted to stay on that throne, if I had decided to put my selfishness above my daughter, then I could have missed out on an amazing bucket list kind of adventure and missed out on it completely. But isn't it true that it's so hard to put other people's needs above our own? Because selfishness is, it's very natural to us. It's as natural as blinking. We've been selfish our whole lives, right? Maybe we don't hit our friends when they take our toys anymore because we've grown up a little bit. But now, when we're in the express lane at the grocery store and the person in front of us has a cart full of things and we can clearly see that there are 18 things in their cart when the sign says 10, the kingdom of me has been invaded because now I have been slowed down by 8 items and I'm very upset, right? Or maybe you're in a parking lot and someone steals your parking spot that you had your blinker on to claim, which means it's practically got your name written on it, and they take it anyway and they invade the kingdom of me. Or maybe you hear the baby crying and you roll over to pretend you are sleeping because you don't want to have the kingdom of you invaded. Pause, please. Dads, we already know what you're doing. You are not tricking us because no one could sleep through the foghorn coming from the nursery down the hall. So now you've invaded the kingdom of me. So we already know that. Or maybe you are going to the kitchen, you see the sink, it's full of dishes. Oh, you know you should wash the dishes. You know it'll only take 5 minutes. But maybe if you throw your cup in and run away really fast, no one will notice, and then maybe your husband will come along and wash them later. Not that I do that, I'm just saying, hypothetically, other people might do that. So there are lots of things in our lives where we find our kingdoms invaded. And that's why I love in Philippians 2 what Paul says. He does not pull any punches. He just drops, he like has a mic drop kind of moment. Read the red word with me when we get there. It's coming fast. Here we go. Philippians 2:3 says, don't be don't be selfish. All right, look at the person next to you and tell them, don't be selfish. Now look down and see who's hogging the armrest. Repeat yourself if necessary. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish, but I like what I like and I want what I want and I want it in my time and in my style and with my preferences taken into account, right? But we're supposed to put other needs above ourselves. Don't be selfish. And then he doesn't stop there. He keeps going in Philippians 2, 3, and 4, and he says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Do nothing. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. You mean I've got to think not just about how my words and my actions benefit me, but I need to think about how they benefit my husband, my kids, my friends, my family, my coworkers? Yeah, that's what he's saying. And it all hinges on that one word that we read together, humility. It's not the degrading or the belittling of ourselves. It's just giving the proper respect to God and others in our lives. It's being humble. It's getting down off of our thrones and putting the needs of others first. Kids in the room, whether you're 2 or 102, let me tell you, your mommies, they hop off the throne of the kingdom of me on a daily, if not hourly basis. And today is the day when you get home that you can give them a break from that. And you can clean your room. You could clean your room. And you can take care of your mom. You can put up the laundry. You can say nice things to her. You can bring her dinner in her bed. It would be amazing because that's what moms do. And if you grew up without a mom who would do that for you, the good news is you can be different. You can be a different kind of person and a different kind of parent as we all learn how to live selflessly and love selflessly and hop down off of the thrones in the kingdom of me. All right, the second thing, if we want to learn to love selflessly, is that self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is not selfish. We're all surrounded by needs and needs and needs and needs. Everybody needs something from us, right? And it can sometimes leave us feeling empty. My son, Ethan, came rolling into this world at 8 pounds, 10 ounces, and 2 weeks early, which means God saved me from a 10.5-pound baby. Thank you, Jesus. Woo! And he came starving. The child was starving. For the first few months of his life, he woke me up every 2 hours to eat. He exhausted me. He was like a bottomless pit. He just ate and he ate and he ate and he ate. And he was a big child. This is his first little baby shoe. His first little tiny shoe. It looks really tiny until you realize that this is the shoe most kids learn to walk in. My son could hold his head up and then wore these. These are a size 2. He skipped infants and newborns and wore these little shoes. And he kept eating and eating and growing, and I took him to the pediatrician's office, and they would take his measurements and weigh him and do all the things, and then they would give me a look, and then they would write on his growth chart the percentile. And they would write on Ethan's 99% with an up arrow, which means he's taller than more than 99% of the children his age. Fast forward, he is now 13 and 6'1". And this is the shoe I bought him to start the school year with. Yes, this looks like Shaquille O'Neal's shoe, but it's not. This is my son's shoe. And I can't buy him shoes at the store anymore. They must be special ordered. It's a delight. So we ordered these. They came in the mail. These are 12.5 wide men's shoes for my 13-year-old, and they were too small. and non-refundable. Yeah, I was really excited about that. So to fuel that kind of growth, he has to eat a lot. I will feed him. 30 minutes later, he comes in and he says, I'm hungry. And I'm like, are you kidding? And then we feed him and he's hungry, and we feed him and he's hungry. He told me the other day, Mom, I've only been full like 5 times in my whole life. Which is why I taught him to cook for himself. Because there is not enough tortellini in this world to fill his stomach. And isn't that a lot like life? We fill up, we get emptied out. We fill up, we give it out. We fill up, we're depleted. Because we have so many needs in our lives that we're trying to meet that we fill up and it's just gone instantly, and we can be left feeling so empty. The kids need help with their homework, the family needs dinner prepared, the office needs those files sent in. You have a Mount Everest of laundry at home to climb, and I'm just convinced there's nothing more draining than never-ending loads of laundry, and you just find yourself empty, and you're tired. There's this great story in the Old Testament about one of God's prophets. His name is Elijah. And God leads him to this little village in the midst of a massive, horrible drought. And as he comes near the gates, he sees a widow gathering sticks. She's actually gathering the sticks for what will be her final fire. That is how bad things were at the time. And so he calls out to this lady and he says, hey, do you mind getting me some water? So she turns to go get it, and then he does what people do. He yells out, oh yeah, hey, could you bring me some bread too? Now, do you have people like that in your life who tell you, hey, can you do me a favor? And then they throw another one alongside it? That's kind of what he did. And I kind of envision her turning around, like, seriously? And then she says to him, I don't even have any bread at my house. I have like a little bit of flour and a little bit of oil. I was going to cook my very last meal, and then my son and I were going to eat it and die. And that's what I call running on empty. When you just have a few ingredients for your very last meal. That's running on empty. It's completely depleted. It is at the end of yourself. And then Elijah says to her, this is in 1 Kings chapter 17. Read the red word when we get there. He says, don't be afraid. Go ahead and do just what you've said, but make a little bread for me first. Then use what's left to prepare a meal for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. There will always be flour and olive oil left in your containers until the time when the Lord sends rain and the crops grow again. There will always be something left. And so she did just that. She took the little bit of flour and the little bit of oil that she had, she gave it to God, let God use it, and he replenished it. And every day she had enough. Every day she had enough. Her containers were never empty. Her jars never hit the bottom because there was always enough. Now, we cannot serve the people that God has placed in our lives with an empty vessel, with an empty container. We have to let him refill us, which is why self-care is not selfish. It is vital so that we can be the best people, parents, spouses, friends, kids, employees we can be. Because if we're just running on empty, we cannot be the best version of ourselves. We've got to give God a chance to refill us. And that looks different for everybody. For some of you, you love worship music. A worship song or two will play, and you just feel like filled up from the inside. You feel like your heart's connecting with God. You feel so good. You can listen to worship music for hours. Some of you love the outdoors. There's nothing better than hiking or fishing or whatever you people do outside that fills you up, that fills your soul. Or maybe it's community. It's a girls' night out or some hang time with the guys, and you're talking about faith or family or films, and it doesn't even matter because that conversation fills your soul to be around people. Or maybe what you would love nothing better than is just sweet silence, some alone time to be by yourself so that you can get recharged and filled up so that you can pour out on others. And once we figure out the way that we're filled up, because it could be getting a pedicure, reading by the fire, journaling, working out, baking, crafting, golfing, I don't know. There's so many things that can fill us up. Once we identify that, we have to carve it out on our calendars, because if we don't schedule it, it won't happen, right? Because the never-ending list of needs will just swallow up all the time we have. So we have to prioritize self-care, because self-care is not selfish. It's actually what helps us to be the best kinds of people. Moms, we're some of the worst at self-care, right? Because we're trying to help our kids. We got to do that homework. We got to do the laundry. We have so many to-dos. And we always put ourselves at the bottom of the list. But let me encourage you to remind yourself this week, it's not being selfish to take care of yourself. In fact, it may give you just the energy you need to be the best mom you can be this week. So take care of yourself this week. Number 3. If we're going to learn to love selflessly, then we need to pardon ourselves from perfection. You need to give yourself a pardon from perfection. I don't know about you, but I have this ideal in my head. I don't know if I've picked it up from maybe sitcoms or television or movies or something like that, of like whatever the perfect family is. And if I feel like I'm not hitting perfect, then I feel like I'm a failure. And it may not be family for you. It may be that you feel the need to be the perfect employee or the perfect student or the perfect friend. And then when you don't meet your own expectations of perfect, you feel like you're a failure. And that's why I love this article that I ran across. And this gal named Jess, she breaks down the difference between being perfect and being enough. Here's what she says. I enjoy my kids enough. Sometimes we read together and we snuggle on the couch, and I read to them the Hardy Boys or Anne of Green Gables, and other times I race through a bedtime song like I'm Alvin and the Chipmunks, and I punctuate it with a kiss, and I run out of there like it's a hostage situation, because it is. And they cry out after me that their water is old and their backs itch and their underwear is twisted. And this is when I hide behind the freezer door, shoveling cookie dough ice cream into my mouth, wondering who will give up first, me or them. But I'm good enough at bedtime. And I enjoy those kids enough. Sometimes I smell their hair and I kiss their cheeks and I laugh at their jokes and I marvel that I'm so blessed. And time stops in moments like that and everything is perfect and worth it. And other times, I'm unsure that I will survive the hours of 4 to 8:30 p.m. And I wonder if one can die from overexposure to bickering children. One can, I'm sure of it. But I enjoy them enough. I'm a good enough wife. Sometimes I'm a great listener and an epic encourager. We laugh together and dream together, and he's truly my favorite person. And sometimes he gets all the brunt of my frustration. He gets my snappy responses and my rolling eyes. And sometimes when he needs a pep talk, I say, "Why did you do that?" Which he loves, for the record. But I'm a good enough wife. And I love that because I'm not perfect either. I get it wrong all the time. There are times where I get frustrated and I'm tired and I'll lose my temper and I yell at my kids, and it takes my very, very smart son to tell me, "Mom, I'm going to leave the room and you're going to leave the room. I'm going to calm down and you're going to calm down. Then we're going to come back together and figure this out." Man, I hate it when my kids are smarter than me. It's no good. I don't get it right all the time. I am not perfect. But I do think I'm enough. I'm good enough at housework. Sometimes my kitchen countertops are sparkling clean and you could eat off them. I wouldn't let you, because then you'd make them dirty. But you could do that. My floors are sparkly clean because they're freshly mopped, and all of our beds are made, and it looks like my house was in a magazine, and it's probably because someone is coming over and I want them to think I live in a magazine. But sometimes there's 4-day-old dried globs of jelly on my kitchen countertops, and my floors are sticky, and there's crumbs on my rugs, and none of our beds have been made for a week because we're just going to get back in them a few hours from now anyway, so why bother, right? But I'm good enough at housekeeping. And I love my family enough. I love them even though I've had to tell them 10,000 times to brush their teeth. I love them even though they leave their dirty clothes on the floor. I love them when they're crazy and wild and they laugh so hard they cry. I love them even though they beat me, demolish me, kill me at video games. I love them when they cuddle with me. I even love them when I have to chase them around the house for a hug with both arms and a squeeze. I love them. I'm crazy about them. I absolutely adore them. They are the heartbeat outside of my body. I love them, which means it makes everything else I do enough. And moms, if you don't hear anything else, let me make sure you hear this today. Sometimes we think we're bad moms because we're not perfect moms. You're not perfect, but you are enough. And if we are willing to take the little bit God's given us, the little bit of flour, the little bit of oil, just like that widow, and we say, God, I just give this to you. Please use my enough and use it in the hearts and the lives of my children, my family, my parents, my friends. God is never, ever going to come up empty because he is always more than enough. Let me pray for you. God, we just love you so much, and we're so thankful to you. It's hard being a mom. It's the hardest job I've ever had. But God, I know every one of us, God, we just want to learn how to love more selflessly. We want to learn how to love like you do. And I pray that this week, as we go out, I pray, God, that you can just show us moments to relinquish the throne in the kingdom of me, that we can hop down off the throne, that we can put the needs of other people above ourselves. And God, I pray that you will remind us in the midst of a hectic, busy week that self-care isn't selfish, that if we'll give you the time to fill us up, God, it'll make us better people. And God, I pray that you just remind us to pardon ourselves from perfection. It's not about being perfect. It is about being enough and letting you intervene and take the enough that we have and use it in the lives of those around you. God, we just trust you and we love you and we thank you for choosing us to have influence in the lives of the people around us. It's in your son's name. Amen.